Hello friends, my name is Matt, and welcome to the Joy of Nerding. As discussed in my previous episode on maps, we're going to be doing a map in the Pip Boy style for my Fallout campaign. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I did was I searched for how do I make a map in the style of the Fallout Pip Boy, right? Makes perfect sense. And I found this Google Doc by Anonymous Squirrel. And it is the Fallout 4 style map creator. And it leads you through it really, really clearly when beginning my first campaign of Fallout 2D20 with some close friends from across the country via Roll20. I'm using Fallout 2D20. I'm using Playroll instead of Roll20, but the same idea applies. I wanted to create a map for my players that would not break immersion. Good. I have the exact same needs, sir. Thank you so much. Or madam. I do not know the gender of this squirrel. Unfortunately, when attempting to create the map, I had trouble finding all the assets and tools necessary. There's a few great map-related tools in the community, but I noticed a fragmentation and inaccessibility when it came to making a Pip Boy map. This creator is the result of my own frustration. I hope you can use it as a tool in your game to quickly generate a Pip Boy style map with little to no technical/graphic knowledge needed. All of the map icons you will need are already available as standard vector graphic files via the Wikipedia page. These files are great if you know how to use them or are familiar with the design software. Dragging and dropping can result in a very tiny blurry icon leading to frustration. As a solution, I have gathered the most used files and converted them to drag and drop PNG files. My guess is I could probably get SVGs to do what I want, but we'll give this a go. I've also included a few royalty-free images to help add a CRT screen effect to your map if you wish. Follow the steps below to create your own Fallout 4 style Pip Boy map for your own campaign. So the first thing we do is visit Snazzy Maps and use the Pip Boy fixed preset, credit Nicholas Salter to generate a map of your area. So that's what I have open in this tab. I have to disclose that I did register, and therefore I'm able to download image and save things and all of that. I did mess around a little bit with trying to get this worked out to a Google Directions map, and I couldn't really figure out how to do it without getting deep into the weeds of APIs and things like that. So I kind of skipped. We're going to flip over to this map. This is the most likely route that our brave adventurers are going to attempt. To give you a little bit of background, they have completed the introductory campaign set, Once Upon a Time in the Wasteland, from the starter set. They have defeated the evil synth Dr. Rast, and they have obtained the Gek. So they have a Gek, and they are searching for a place to use it. There's a whole lot of wasteland, but it's relatively populated wasteland. So the theory was that they would head out along the Appalachian Trail, and originally we had conceived that this would be set on the Gulf Coast around Pensacola, because there's some interesting stuff there that's never been explored by the Fallout universe, and potentially even doing things like going to Cuba. I don't know if we'll ever get there because we're moving along here. They can use old highways going this way across Connecticut. They could even swing south and go over 95. I think all of the people in this game are familiar with the New England, New York area. And my brother is living down in Florida. To be clear, we grew up in Rhode Island, right? And my brother is down in Florida now, and so he's kind of familiar with this whole Panhandle area. And our friend Suda went to school in, I want to say UNC Charlotte, but I could be wrong. And so she's familiar with the Carolinas, and I want to say she moved down in the Greensboro area now. I'm up in New York now, so we've kind of all scattered. But the point is, we're familiar relatively with this corridor. So I would love to Pip Boy this whole thing and do like an Indiana Jones style as they're going, but I couldn't find a good way to do that. But we know that they're in Diamond City now, which is Boston. So I'll just generate regional maps in this style as time goes. So we're going to start with this. The way that I got here was I loaded the style by default, and I said Boston, Mass, USA. Bingo bango. There you are. And then I zoomed, panned, so that we could see Hartford and New Haven. Why did I zoom out so we could see Hartford and New Haven? Well, logically, the way that you would most safely go through the wasteland is as a guard for a caravan. As part of a caravan, you sign on for safe passage, you sign on as a guard, whatever. And so if you assume that there's going to be new cities built where these old cities are, we could assume that it's probably safe to say that they would want to go from Boston to Worcester to Springfield to Hartford to New Haven. And that tracks if we're going to do something like this, right? We'll go over to here and we'll look. I went too far. Here, Boston, Newton. Now, once you get down into Connecticut, right? There's Norwich. Where are we? East Hampton, Marlborough, New Haven, Hartford. So their path takes them directly through Hartford. Now, if the caravan goes to Springfield and Worcester, that just takes them on a slightly northerly route, right? If we assume that, broadly speaking, the caravan's going to go from Boston to Worcester to Springfield, then down to Hartford and New Haven, and then maybe back. I don't know that there's enough places. Maybe on the backswing, they come back through Providence. If we assume that they do this orbit, and that's kind of their regular trade route, that's not a bad bunch of cities to hit. And it's kind of where our characters want to go. They'd be more a little bit out of their way, right? So if we were to redo this and do Boston, Massachusetts to Hartford, Connecticut via walking, right? It says it's 107 miles. It's 40 hours, which realistically means that with a caravan going more slowly, you figure you're only going to be going, we'll say 10 hours a day. That's 4 days, and you're probably going to be going slower. So double it. So, I mean, it's maybe an 8-day trip, week and a half, there to there. If they're on foot, they'll be able to go faster. They'll be able to do it in probably 2-3 days. That said, if we wanted to do something where we add a stop at Worcester, we add a stop at Springfield, that's a 45-hour thing. So it adds another 5 hours, which realistically is probably only another day. And then they're going to have to stop and trade and all of that. But that will get them to there. Now, to be clear, the players are going to be presented with this choice. It's just going to be much safer to be in a caravan, and also they'll get paid for it as opposed to having to walk, right? The caravan will have food for the guards, so they won't have to worry about finding food. They'll get paid some amount of caps, and they'll actually profit from the endeavor, right? Now, I just dragged this down to New Haven, and that makes it 59 hours. Now, why Hartford and New Haven? And the answer is because, and this has not been discussed in the Fallout world, which means I can run with it, Hartford was historically home for Colt's Patent Manufacturing Company. New Haven was Winchester Repeating Arms. So you've got two cities that were heavily focused around the classic American gun industry from the 1800s-ish on. There's no reason to think that since their history diverged with ours in the 1950s, that is not still so. Why wouldn't they stay there? We can assume that in the Fallout world that the political climate was a little bit different as far as which states were hostile to gun manufacturing versus which states welcomed it. And so you can end up with leaving things where they were around the time of the American Civil War. So Boston probably has, or Diamond City, at that area, have trade goods, and I'm not really sure what those trade goods would be. There's probably a lot of fish, those types of things. Now, New Haven has access to the ocean, so it has a lot of fish, but you'd end up with processed salted fish. I mean, for all I know, we'll go with baked beans. They have barrels of Boston baked beans in the caravan that they're going to take through to Worcester and, more importantly, to Hartford and New Haven here, right? And if you do that, well, what do you get at Hartford and New Haven? You get access to guns. Now, guns means brotherhood, but they're mostly interested in conserving the energy weapons and things like that. So it would make sense for there to be a hefty industry of actually decent production slug throwers, probably also some ammunition too. And this is could probably be termed as maybe the backhaul, as in the real value to the caravan is going from Hartford to New Haven and then back to Boston with a load of guns to be able to sell to whoever might like them in the Diamond City area. They still need stuff to trade back, so this is probably going to be lots of caps, and we'll say bunch of Boston baked beans and things like that for trade goods. Of course, my players don't have to do any of this. Hence, the map, they're still going to want to go that way. So this map still has value. So let's start with customizing this map so it's a little less busy, and then we're going to add some different iconography to it, right? So we start with this view code. Here, click it. And this little flyout, it has the JavaScript style array, which we don't actually care about. I want this pane behind it, which is the customization. And the things we want to do is remove how busy all these roads are. So we're going to turn off the arterial accesses, right? So actually all of that, turn off the visibility, and then, so that's everything, right? That's the geometry and the labels. And you also want to do the same thing for local, off, great. Now, we want to get rid of the labels because we want to put in our own labels. Now, go into administrative, all, and click off. And that works. There you go. So turn off all of the arterial and local roads leaving the highways, and turn off all of the administrative labels and geometry. Done. We now have an empty map. So we can do this, and this is our map. Now we can cross-reference with that map. I mean, we can go back to here, and we can turn this on and see them. We can turn this off. And so this will allow us to know where things are, where we want to place them. But this is how we're going to start. So we do that. It looks good. Let's click download image. And I'm going to make this as big a map as possible. And I'm going to upscale it by 3 times. Now, we want to make sure that we have Boston, which we know is here, and New Haven's down there. So you can zoom out a little bit. Yeah, there we go. We can zoom out from inside here. Now, I need to just check that Hartford and New Haven, that wasn't what I wanted. I want to zoom out there. I think this is New Haven, but I want to be absolutely certain. Labels on. Yes, that is New Haven. Okay, so now when we go here, we say download the image. We want to make sure this is New Haven. That's Boston. We can go, oh, I zoomed out. Okay, I need to zoom in a smidgen over here. There we go. Try and get that on the screen. Now download image. You're limited to 10 downloads a day, but going into here and previewing it doesn't mess things up. And you can zoom the preview in and out a little bit. So this may just be panning the preview around. I'm not completely certain, but that should give us what we want. Or actually, I bet it's actually going to give us all of this, which is, and what do we say? New Haven was here. I want to go this a little bit. See, this is a rectangle. It's a 1920 by 1080 window. So I can't imagine that it's going to be exactly this. That's Boston. And that's New Haven. There we go. I think that's the picture that I want. So let's download image. And I want to make sure that I have both Boston and New Haven on it. 1000 by 1000 pixels. I'm going to drag this. I think this is the center. And so on our preview window, we have Boston and New Haven, and we'll see how that goes. And again, scale factor of 3. Download that. Downloaded, great. So it downloads a file called snazzy image. You're going to want to rename that to something actually useful so that you remember what it is. I called mine Boston Hartford. And now let's do the next step. So going here, we did this one. Place the map in your photo editing software of choice. If you don't have access to Photoshop, I recommend GIMP. That's what we're going to be using. And then download the map icon folder. I already did that. And simply drag and drop the PNGs. You can mark locations with this VCR OSD mono font. And then type it in, and we're going to use these scanline textures as an overlay. Yeah, you click on these and then you download it, Google Drive type stuff. They also recommend the font, so let's grab this font, download. And according to what I can find on the internet, I just need to put this in the fonts directory. Sorry, the .fonts directory in my home directory, and GIMP should pick it up. Okay, so now I have this pulled into GIMP, and I probably should have took out that Finger Lakes thing, but I'm not going to worry about it. And I added the VCR mono font. Okay, so here we've got our GIMP set up. I have mine as individual windows, so I've just grabbed all three. We have our scrollable nice area. The top actually could probably be cropped off because we don't care. I think I'm going to do that. So we'll start by doing this, and I'm just going to grab this, and you know what, we're going to chop off that because it wouldn't say Google on the Pip Boy, would it? Going to do that. Okay, crop that. Great. And doesn't that look pretty? Now, as I mentioned, I downloaded the font. All I had to do was drop it in my .fonts subdirectory of my home directory, and now if we filter, we have VCR. What? It was just there. I don't know why that font's layers is there. Maybe that's the name of the layers. VCR OSD mono. There we go. So this is our font. I don't know what. Oh, because I put a comma in it? I have no idea why it's not showing up in those fonts. I don't care. But it shows up in this one, which makes me very happy. Use editor, anti-aliasing. Great, great, great. Okay. We're not going to worry about that now. Well, what we're going to do is we are going to add a layer. New layer. There we go. And we're going to call this one icons. Okay. And now we got to grab, we're working in this layer, and we're going to open, and I know you can't see that pop up. I have downloaded the map icons, right? We're going to need to get the icons for the, okay, so Diamond City looks like a baseball diamond, and unfortunately, that is not, oh, wait, ballpark. It's right there. Open. Okay, convert. It opened up a new one. Select all. Edit. Copy. And then edit. Paste. There we go. An enormous Diamond City. And now I need the little movie dividey. Why can't I resize it? Because I can delete that layer. Selection tool. I used to know how to use the GIMP, I swear. I swear there used to be a way to resize this. Oh, there's the move and the alignment tool. There's different selection tools. Scale layer. That's probably what I want. Okay. So now how do I move it? How do I move something in GIMP? It used to just be a little arrow. Plus sign with arrowheads. That's this one. The move tool. Yes, move layers and other objects. To move a mode, the move mode must be set to layer. Path, selection, layer. That's what I did. Okay, so the reason I couldn't move stuff is I need to move, pick a layer, move the active layer. That's why it was blinking at me. Okay, so we go over to here. We zoom in. Move this up here. And we're going to call Diamond City somewhere around here. And that's still too big. So let's scale layer, and we'll go maybe 50 by 50, and we'll just remember that, right? Because we want all of our icons to be a uniform size. And so we can do this. There we go. And now we can take and have our font use editor. So we want it to be, let's color picker that. Picker. And we want to do this, and we want black as the outline, right? So, okay. And hinting, justification. Can we do I thought we could do a black, here. And then we want a black there. And that should give us what we want for our text. Diamond City. I can type. And yes, it's too big. Because I actually needed to select it and then say 48, right? It doesn't do it on the whole thing. Ah, there we go. That'll do it. And we want an outline. And I thought there was a way to. Then that's still too big, by the way. Let's go down to 36. And this isn't, the D is not actually selected. There we go. And we're going to want to adjust the centering. Want this center justification. There we go. And box is dynamic, which is great. I want this to be 48. And no, leave the anti-aliasing on. Language English. That's the spacing and all of that. It's RGB hinting. I thought that, so going back to the document, one of the things that we'll do is we'll also add the scan lines, because I want to get an idea of how it's actually going to look, right? So that's Diamond City. Let's move this over to here. This is hard to read, but I think that the way that they made that work, there we go, is they dimmed the back. We've already established that I don't want to create a separate layer. I just want to file, open the scanline textures. Oh, so we got 5, 18, and 27. I don't know what the difference is between the different scanline textures. We're just going to use the first one. So edit, select all, copy, and then we get into this, paste as new layer. And that layer needs to be made opaque. So it's not, it's also too big. So I don't think we want to scale it. I think we want to crop it to 1000 by 1000. And we're going to grab maybe the middle. So let's move this so that it's even. And maybe centered like that. There we go. And we'll actually, you know what? I'm not even going to crop it. I'm just going to leave it. And then you should set the opacity to overlay. So maybe it's under opacity to, let's go with 60. 60%. Okay. All right, there we go. And I think I need to look at their reference picture again. Yes, that's how he did it. This layer goes down so that the diamond city pops. I do think that this is maybe a little too aggressive. So I'm messing with this because I want the base map to be a little easier to see. They said in the document, they suggested set the opacity to overlay at 50 to 65%. And I had it at 60, and that was probably a bit much, right? It was hard to see. This here is a little easier to read. So if we set this to overlay at 50%, just nice number there. I think that's readable. You can read Diamond City. You can see the baseball diamond, right? So then that's what they know about now, right? They know about Diamond City. Oh, and they also know about Vault 95, where they found Micah, who was a scientist who had the GEC, right? So I need to make sure to put that on the list, because those were really the two places that they went, was at Vault 95 and Diamond City. Paste as new player, and we want to edit that layer 95 icon. Scanlines, Diamond City icon. So now we have the Vault 95 icon. We edit it, and we wanted to scale layer, and we said 50 by 50 scale, and we want to move that to maybe here, right? We'll do that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Put it over there. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see. And this stuff is always supposed to be below it. So you know what, maybe we'll do this. Yeah, I'll just put it there. It's kind of arbitrary. It doesn't really matter where it goes. Now I want to change this to be 36. Boom, boom. And now let's do this. Vault 95. And I want the move, not the text. Vault 95. Now, I think we want to merge these things together because I don't want so many layers. So I'm going to merge Vault 95 and Vault 95 icon. So that's now one layer. And we're going to call that Vault 95. And I also want to merge Diamond City with the Diamond City icon. So Diamond City. And there we go. And now Vault 95 is one layer. Diamond City is another layer. And we're going to, oh, didn't want to move that. I wanted to move this. We're going to have to add some other things to our map because they know that there's things out there, right? So we're going to put the major cities that they're going to. They have some basic area knowledge, and I'm going to give them this opportunity. The question is, going back to our other map, what is interesting? So this conflation here is Worcester, and I want to open, let's see, I'm having a look at what the different options are. Okay, so here's that window, and this will give you an idea of all of the different options that we have. So we'll start, we got an airport, we got the ballpark, got the battery, ship, Brotherhood of Steel, a bridge, a building, an outline of a building, a bunker, business park, a camp, a cap, a car, a cave, a church, another church, clock tower, drive-in, factory, outline of a factory, a farm, golf course, building, outline of a government building, a grave, outline of a grave, junkyard, outline of a junkyard, lucky outline, medical outline, mine, monument, outline of a monument, outpost, yep, Pip Boy, Raiders, railroad, red rocket, outline, refinery, ruins, town, trailer, tree outline, unexplored location outline, and a vault. So I think, what if we made Worcester kind of an outline? I mean, we got farm, camp car. I mean, you got those buildings, right? I'm thinking about what. Oh, there's no gun. There's the battery. That's great, but there's no like, hey, this is where you buy guns. Outpost is good, but I mean, maybe there's different ruins, or maybe just the town. I think we're just gonna do that. We're gonna just use the town because I want to mark Worcester, Hartford, and New Haven. So I'm gonna open that. And I'm going to select all, copy, edit, paste as new layer, and then resize, scale layer, 50, okay, and let's move that over to where it belongs, which was this here. That seems a little small, so I'm going to edit that layer again. Maybe make it 75, 75. Yeah, that's a little better. For some reason, you know, I'm kind of just doing this by eyeball. All right, and now we need some text. And Worcester is spelled weird. It's kind of like Worcestershire, Worcester. And I'm going to leave that as Worcester for a very good reason. Mainly has to do with Adam Sandler. My theory is, see this long straight road? That's basically a straight road. And it's, as you get closer, there is a toll booth because it's a toll road. And you would use the toll road because it's safer than being potentially attacked by raiders. And there's a gentleman named Willie who works at the toll booth and welcomes you to Worcester. And if you do not pay the toll, he's going to have to come out of the booth. And if you are of a certain generation, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so this, I want to combine these two, and I want it called Worcester, not pasted layer. And I need that again. So edit, paste as new layer. And we said we like this to be 75 by 75. Okay, and then we can drag this. Now, referring back to our map, this comes together. It was called Springfield, and we're going to rename it the Spring. There's going to be a theme that's going to emerge. The Spring. And then we're going to do it again. Edit, paste as new layer, and then scale this 25, and then we move this down, and that should be Hartford, where all those roads come together. And the Hart. Now, I know that's not how you spell Hartford, but, you know, some things get lost in translation. Hartford is H-A-R-T. But if you think about it, that's probably because of the name of the people that colonized it, would be my guess. I don't want to say settled, because that's a kind of a disputed thing. First people that spoke English that settled there. And then, so you've got the Hart. And then we're going to go down to New Haven, and we're going to do one more. Edit, paste as new layer, and then scale, and then 75, and then OK, and then we drag this down to here, and we add a, no, I click this because I'm thinking it inserts a new layer right above it, and the Haven, and then I can save myself some typing if you watch what I'm doing and can figure it out. The Haven. And now I take this and I merge this down and it becomes one thing. Okay, so we've got Diamond City, Vault 95, Worcester, and then they're going to go down here to the Spring, and then the Hart, and then the Haven. Now, they're going to find other things here, and that's where I'm going to note on the map where they found it, and I'm going to edit this, and then the next game, their map will be updated. Right? I won't be able to do it in real time because I don't know which way they're going to go. And I suppose I could plan out the whole map and then fog of war it, but I don't want that. I want them to have the overview of the map like this, and just they don't know where things are. Right? So at that point, I'm going to save this. So I saved it as an XCF, which is editable, but then I also want to export it, which I know you can't see this. I'm going to export it as a PNG, and I'm going to do these by date because that way I'll have the progression of the maps as they go. So there we go. That is our map. It should be nice and high res for them to be able to see things. I can zoom it and pan it and all that in software. And I think this is what we're going to do for the beginning of our journey, and we'll see where the road takes them. Hello friends, and now we come to the end of the show where I recommend something to watch or read or listen to while painting or working on maps or whatnot. This one's a little different because yes, there's something to watch, but it's a conspiracy theory. This is mostly homegrown, okay? But bear with me. I hope you enjoy it. I thought it was kind of funny. My recommendation for viewing for this week is this show from Tim Pool on his Timcast channel on Rumble. U.S. elites built underground bunkers preparing for doomsday scenario. He's actually talking about an article in the Daily Mail, that's this article, where Tucker Carlson interviews Catherine Austin Fitts, who was the U.S. Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development for Housing, and she found $21 trillion in unaccounted funds that was diverted to covert projects between 1998 and 2015. So one of the things that you need to think about here is that we know that they built underground bunkers that we know about. And I assume that we have to realize that there's some that we don't know about, right? Like that kind of logically follows. So assume that for every one that we know about, there's at least one that we don't. I assume that there's a parity there. But we know that NORAD Mountain exists. I mean, we knew this even back in the 80s. It was in war games, not the real mountain, but a mock-up. At least I don't think it was the real mountain. We know that there's the Weather Mountain, Weather Top, something like that. In one of the Terminator movies, they flew to a decommissioned one called Crystal Peak. The hole in the mountain is still there. They just built a new one and they're not going there anymore. There's all of these secret or semi-secret or previously secret government projects, and we know that there's even more. It's been suggested to me at gaming conventions over drinks that there are way more floors in the White House than you actually know about. Like, there's the ones where they talk about how there's a bowling alley and a swimming pool and whatever it is, but it goes down much, much lower than you would expect, right? And there's secret underground tunnels that connect a lot of Washington, D.C. buildings so that people can get places in a hurry. All of that is, if not acknowledged truth, believable. I had assumed that had trailed off after the fall of the Soviet Union in the late 80s. And I assumed that the biggest build was at the beginning of the Cold War during the 50s and 60s. Those assumptions may or may not be correct. But what she found was that this was between 1998 and 2015. This lower bound, maybe that's as far back as she traced it. Perhaps it does go back further, or perhaps, and this is where the conspiracy theory starts, they ramped up again after 1998. Well, why would 1998 be significant? Well, let's follow my conspiratorial trail of breadcrumbs. Bill Clinton was president. He was president from 1993 to 2001, which means in 1998, he was the president of the United States. Now, he has a wife who I'm sure people are aware of, Hillary Clinton. She was Secretary of State. She ran for president. And also a daughter, Chelsea. Chelsea is about 6 months older than I am, a little less than that. My birthday's in July. Hers is February 27th, 1980. So she's basically my age. So if you're talking about 1997, what happened in 1997? The release of Fallout. In North America, it was released in October of 1997. So here's my conspiracy theory. Chelsea Clinton likes video games. Chelsea Clinton picked up a copy of Fallout on or near the release date. She then played it at home, and either Dad walked in and was watching her play, or they were talking about it around the dining room table, which I can believe, right? Bill and Hillary are sitting with Chelsea. Oh, how was your day, dear? Oh, it's great. I played this cool game where you play a guy who lived in a secret underground bunker in case of global thermonuclear war with China. At which point, Bill Clinton sits there and thinks about it and says, we let that program kind of go fallow. We are going to have issues if we end up in a global thermonuclear exchange. We should rebuild our bunker stuff. And so he starts this covert bunker building program, not unlike what Vault Tech did in the Fallout universe. So this is my conspiracy theory, is art imitates life, imitates art. Kind of like in war games. The idea of a war dialer that dialed all of these phone numbers and tried to figure out if there was a computer on the other end of the line was invented for the movie. But it was such a good idea that shortly afterwards, somebody wrote one and called it a war dialer in reference to the movie. At least that was the story I heard. I'm telling it from memory. I'll have to go see if it's actually true. And I'll write in the show notes. I'll either find something to substantiate it or find something to disprove it, or I'll let you know if I couldn't find anything. Anyway, art, Fallout, imitates life, which was... Actually, I guess that's wrong. I said art imitates life, imitates art. So life imitates art, imitates life is the right thing. Because in war games, life, the war dialer, imitated the movie, which came up with the idea based on a real world problem. So this would be the same thing. Life imitates art, imitates life. Bill Clinton kicks off a vault creation program because of Fallout, which was based off of the previous administrations, several administrations ago during the 1960s, building fallout shelters because they were worried about war with the Soviet Union. That's my conspiracy theory for the day. I hope you like it. As always, thanks for watching, and stay nerdy.